Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the biggest stories shaking up Washington right now, the 2025 US government shutdown. If you're like most Americans, you're probably wondering what the heck is going on, why it's happening, and how it's affecting your everyday life. As of October 3, 2025, we're now in day 3 of this mess, and there's no clear end in sight. I'm going to break it all down for you, the background, the causes, the impacts, and the finger pointing from both sides. Let's get into it. First off, let's talk about how we even got here. Government shutdowns aren't new, they've happened before when Congress can't agree on funding the federal government. The US fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th, and by law, Congress has to pass 12 appropriations bills to fund everything from defense to education. If they miss the deadline, they can pass a continuing resolution, or CR, which is basically a short-term extension to keep the lights on at current funding levels. But if that doesn't happen, boom, shutdown. Non-essential government operations grind to a halt, workers get furloughed, and essential services limp along without full support. This particular shutdown kicked off at 12:01 a.m. on October 1, 2025, right after the previous continuing resolution expired. It all stems from the full-year Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act of 2025, which was supposed to tide things over but ran out without a replacement. Congress had been haggling over the budget for fiscal year 2026, and things just fell apart. Back in March 2025, we almost had a shutdown, but Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer backed a Republican CR that funded the government through September. That bought some time, but it didn't solve the underlying issues. Fast forward to July, and Republicans pushed through a request to rescind about $9 billion in foreign aid and public broadcasting funds. This was part of a bigger push using the new Rescissions Act of 2025, which President Trump signed into law. That act basically revives the president's power to cut spending that's already been approved, and it's tied to the Department of Government Efficiency's proposals for trimming fat. Democrats weren't thrilled, seeing it as a way for the administration to undo bipartisan deals. Meanwhile, some initial spending bills got passed: $433 billion for veterans programs, $19.8 billion for military construction, $27.1 billion for agriculture, and $7.1 billion for congressional operations. But these were just pieces of the puzzle. By August, the Senate had approved those bills, but there were grumblings about resistance ahead of the September deadline. Then September rolled around, and things heated up. House Speaker Mike Johnson released a spending bill on September 16 that didn't include extensions for health insurance subsidies, specifically, the Affordable Care Act tax credits that help millions afford coverage. That bill squeaked through the House on September 19 but got shot down in the Senate, thanks to a filibuster. Democrats countered with their own proposals, but those failed too. On September 29, there was a big meeting at the White House with President Trump, but no deal emerged. Votes on September 30 came and went without success, and just like that, the shutdown began. So, what are the root causes? It's all about money and priorities. Republicans, led by the Trump administration, want to cut federal spending, rescind foreign aid, and slash funding for things like public broadcasting. They're arguing for fiscal responsibility and saying the government needs to live within its means. On the flip side, Democrats are fighting to extend those ACA tax credits, which are set to expire and could jack up health care costs for families across the country, especially in states like Arizona, where folks rely on them heavily. There's also tension over the administration's stance that the appropriations process shouldn't be so bipartisan, as stated by Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vaught. Democrats worry that even if they agree to funding, Trump could just rescind it later. It's classic partisan gridlock: one side wants cuts, the other wants protections for key programs. Now, let's get to the impacts, because this isn't just Washington drama, it's hitting real people hard. Right off the bat, about 900,000 federal workers have been furloughed, meaning they're sent home without pay. Another 700,000 are still working but won't get paid until this ends. Agencies like the General Services Administration are at 98% furlough, the EPA at 89%, and the Department of Commerce at 81%. Essential stuff keeps going. Social Security checks still go out, Medicare and Medicaid continue, the TSA screens your flights, and Amtrak runs. But a ton of other services are disrupted. Take health and food programs. The National Institutes of Health is down to just a quarter of its staff, halting grant reviews and new research projects. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has furloughed a big chunk of workers, which could slow down responses to outbreaks. The WIC program, which helps low-income families with nutrition for kids, is expected to pause if this drags on. SNAP benefits might get delayed too, though there's some contingency funding for now. The Food and Drug Administration is still approving drugs, but inspections could slow. And those ACA subsidies? If not extended, millions could see their premium spike, making healthcare unaffordable. Economically, it's a mess. The Department of Labor and Commerce have suspended key data releases, like the Bureau of Labor Statistics employment reports and Census Bureau stats. That leaves economists and businesses in the dark. The US dollar and Treasury securities took a hit leading up to the shutdown. Small business loans through the SBA are on hold, federal housing loans are delayed, and disaster relief efforts could stall. If you're waiting on a student loan disbursement, tough luck during a prolonged shutdown. Even national parks are closing or running with skeleton crews, and US Capitol tours are canceled. NASA's feeling the pinch too, 15,094 employees furloughed, but 3,124 are still on for essentials like the International Space Station and the Artemis program. Artemis 2 prep isn't affected yet, but longer shutdowns could delay missions. Travel-wise, airports are operational thanks to TSA, but expect longer lines if staff morale drops or people call out. And don't forget the military, personnel are working without pay, which is a huge strain on families. The Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019 guarantees back pay once this ends, but that doesn't help with bills right now. On October 2nd, there was some weird stuff at the Department of Education. Furloughed workers out of office emails were tweaked to include partisan language blaming Democrats, which might violate the Hatch Act. That's under investigation now. Politically, the blame game is in full swing. From the Republican side, President Trump and Speaker Johnson are pointing fingers at Democrats, saying they're holding up funding over demands for more spending, including what they falsely claim is health coverage for undocumented immigrants. Trump has been vocal, meeting with OMB head Russ Vought to discuss which programs to cut during the shutdown. The strategy seems to be maximizing pain in Democrat-led areas, like suspending $2.1 billion for Chicago transit projects over race-based contracting concerns, or threatening billions in energy department awards mostly in blue states. Republicans argue their stopgap bill, which would fund through November 21st, gives time for health care talks. Democrats, like House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries and Congressman Greg Stanton, are firing back, saying the shutdown is on Republicans and the Trump administration for pushing health care cuts and higher prices. They tried to negotiate a bipartisan CR that addresses the expiring ACA tax credits, which could save Arizona families alone from big cost hikes. Stanton emphasizes that with Republicans controlling Congress and the White House, they should have the votes, but they need Dem support and aren't willing to compromise. Democrats want over $1 trillion for health programs and limits on Trump's rescission powers. They're ready to negotiate in good faith to end this quickly and protect affordable health care. As for the latest developments on October 3rd, the Senate is reconvening for votes on competing plans, but neither is expected to pass with the needed bipartisan support. If Democrats block the GOP bill again, senators might head home for the weekend, stretching this into next week. Trump's been trolling Democrats with targeted cuts, but there's pushback. Even some Republicans pressured the admin to reverse $187 million in New York counterterrorism cuts. No resolution yet, and the shutdown continues. What does this mean for you? If you're a federal worker, hang in there, back pay is coming, but the stress is real. If you're relying on government services, check agency websites for updates. Economically, a long shutdown could shave off GDP growth, past ones have cost billions. Politically, it's another example of how divided Washington is, and with midterms looming, both sides are playing to their bases. Look, Americans deserve better than this. We need leaders who put people over politics and get the government working again. A bipartisan deal is the only way out. Extend the CR, protect health subsidies, and tackle spending responsibly. Until then, stay informed, and if this affects you, reach out to your reps. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns on current events, and drop a comment. Who's to blame here? Republicans, Democrats, or both? I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.